Welcome back to the shaving extravaganza known as taking care of my feet. Yesterday, I posted using the cheese grater foot rasp to try and get all the callus off of my skin. And I'm still not exactly certain why that was such a struggle that time. There were some great suggestions in the comments that maybe the silver blades aren't the same as the gold blades and got dull really, really fast. That's possible. Or that my skin was too hard and therefore it got dull really fast, which is also possible. Or that because it's summer and my feet are sweating more, that the center part where I was having the hardest time doing the removal was just too moist. That's also very possible. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I am grateful that after an unsuccessful or semi-successful grating, I was able to come in with my trusty Callus shaver and remove a lot more of the bulk of the skin in the middle here. I did a good initial removal, and then here I am coming in and trying to do a little bit more, but I'm noticing the skin is rather soft and pliable here, and it's just not catching on the blade as well. And so after kind of giving it a few attempts, I decided to wait until a bit later and try and take it off once it had dried out a little bit more later on in this process. That crack you see there was initially hurting, but after I took down all the skin around it, it's able to flex without ripping open more, and so now it feels fine despite looking terrible. And there have been questions a lot since using the new cheese grater foot file rasp tool as to whether I might be able to actually eliminate the cracks altogether. And I'm not certain. I am hopeful that that day might come, but I'm not certain because I do find that when the skin is thinner, it is more brittle, dries out faster, and can actually be more prone to cracking. Like the sweet spot is about 3 weeks out from shaving up until about 2 months out from shaving, when the skin is not too thick and not too thin, just Goldilocks perfect in the middle. But these first couple of weeks right after shaving, it's actually really prone to cracking. And I'm going to do an experiment where I try super glue, and there's also like a veterinary wound glue that's supposed to hold cracks and fissures closed while they heal. So I'm going to give that a go. A lot of people who have this condition have recommended to me, like, come on, stop avoiding it. Just try super glue. It'll work great. But I'm also concerned that, like, the second the skin gets wet, the glue will just stop adhering to my skin. So I'm not sure whether it's worth it. Anyway, I was able to use this tool to get down around the whole top of my foot, but as I came into the heel here, we were battling just a number of factors, and I decided not to do the whole heel with the shaver. Like, I had already used the grater, so it was pretty thin, and I had already used the FootLogic's callus softener, and so the threat of going too deep on my heel was just too high, and I decided to come in here and try to do finishing touches with the grater again. And this actually worked pretty well. I wasn't sure if with it being softened and with it already being thin, whether it was going to get any more. And I've sped it up here because it isn't very interesting, but just to show you that I really did like a once over on my whole foot, getting anywhere that was still quite yellow. And I still wasn't satisfied with the ball of my foot, but like the whole bottom half, heel, etc. section was looking pretty good. So did some cleanup here. And then if we take a look at my foot, you can see the variances between pink and more yellowish. And the yellowish areas are spots that are just still a little bit thick. And so I've come in again with the grater just to see what I could get. But look, like I'm getting the tiniest little bit off. And I went all around again, just touching my foot, figuring out which spots were a little too thick. And then finally, after doing all of that and allowing the top section to dry out a lot more, I was able to come in once again and get even more off of the ball of my foot. And at some point, I just have to call it good. I have never been able to get the entirety of the yellow off of the top of my foot without making it uncomfortably thin. So at this point, it's just a touch test. That's why you see me swiping my thumb around, because I can't actually feel the thickness really with my thumb, but it's that pressure of my thumb against my foot that allows me to feel with my foot what might still be too thick, because in certain places I'll have more sensation and in other places I'll have less sensation. And if I can't, through my foot, feel my thumb very well, I know it's still a little too thick there. But I think this is a pretty good job. Like that yellow off the ball of my foot finally came down a lot more. And on the whole, the skin is really quite squishy now and flexible. And I know you're probably used to your foot doing that, but I never experienced that. So that was a good feeling. And that's kind of my sign that I can rub my hands over my feet and the The thickness feels pretty darn even, and it's very flexible and soft all over the place, and that's it. I'll do my toes later. Bye!